If you're new to real estate, you're likely wondering, what should I actually be doing to my time? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you the hidden dangers to your first 90 days in real estate and how to avoid it. If you haven't already, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and push the bell so you can get notified every time I post a video live just like this so that you can crush it in your real estate business. My name is Chris Molinar. Now, I didn't sell a house for my first 6 months in real estate. And my wife told me, if you don't sell a house in your first 6 months as a real estate agent, you're going back to sheet metal. Now, it was a little bit of a do or die, but something snapped in me at that moment, and I did 15 transactions the following 3 months. And I learned a lot in that process, and I'm going to break it down for you in this video. Number one, understand that this is a direct sales business. Not a retail sales business. A retail sales business is when people come to you. A direct sales business is, in essence, a door-to-door salesman type of business. Now, that doesn't mean you have to knock on doors, but in real estate, you have to go out and find business. Similar to how an insurance person needs to go out and find business. One of the biggest mistakes agents make getting into this business is they say, I'm a real estate agent now, I have a real estate license, so there should just be a long list of people pouring in that are just calling and begging, to use my services as a real estate agent. That is not the case. We have to go find business in real estate. Number two, set a weekly schedule. Again, if you don't know what to do with your time on a daily and weekly basis, reach out to some of the other successful agents in your marketplace and ask them, what do you do on a weekly basis? I'll tell you, if you don't have clients, the only two things that you need to be involved in is prospecting and previewing property, looking for buyers and sellers, and getting to know the product. Number three, understand what your job is and what your job isn't. Think of it like this. If you were working a regular 9 to 5, working for the man, so to speak, then really you would have to show up at the office at the same time every single day. You would have to leave at the same time every single day. And you would have few things that would need to get done while the time that you're at work. So why is it that agents are going to get groceries, taking the bottles in to Sarcan to, get the money back? They're running errands, doing all of these miscellaneous things as if it was a weekend because they don't know what to do with their time. So your job is, as I'd mentioned before, prospecting and previewing property, and know that you might not get paid for 30 or 60 or 90 days. So what kind of job did you have before real estate? And the reason I ask this question is because every single real estate agent that is new to the business generally has life experience prior to real estate. And if you know what those skills and attributes are, you can take that with you and apply it to real estate. You're not starting at zero per se. And when you know this, you're going to know better how to sell yourself to the people that you meet, your first clients in real estate. So drop a comment below. What type of job did you do prior to real estate? Now, 30, 60, 90-day cycles. What this essentially means is, as a new real estate agent, even if you find a client on day one and they're ready to buy or sell a house, and you get that house under contract with them in your first week, there's still going to be 2 weeks for contingency periods. You're still going to have, either 30 days or 45 days after contingencies before the actual possession date, because the sellers, in most cases, need to find another place to live as well. So now, you have 2 weeks plus 45 days. That is almost 2 months before you get paid. And that's if you have a client on day one. Typically, you're going to spend the first 30 days in real estate talking to as many people as you possibly can so that you can fill your sales pipeline with buyer and seller clients so that the following 30 and 60 days, you'll have active appointments and then eventually closings. So the first 30 days is prospecting. The second 30 days is presenting. So going on appointments with buyers and sellers. And then the third set of 30 days, which is your 90 days total, is basically possession dates and closings, which is paydays, essentially. So you need to know that you're always going to be involved in prospecting, presenting, and closing in a perfect world to create consistent income. But here's what typically happens for real estate agents. You'll go really hard prospecting, you'll pick up a handful of clients, you'll go actively work with those clients, you'll forget to prospect, you'll have some closings, which is good, but then you'll have gaps in income because you weren't prospecting during the time that you were going out on appointments, or whether during that time that you had closings. So you've got this roller coaster ride of income, and so you need to know your numbers. You need to track your efforts, and you need to always consistently be prospecting so that you always have income coming. Now, if you're still wondering what specific types of prospecting activities should I be involved in, send me an email. You can find me at questionsformolinar@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to help. Here's the beautiful thing. You can actually reach out to all the people that you know before you get licensed, just to rebuild those connections so that when you finally make your announcement on social media that you are a real estate agent, you've already set the stage for all of the people that you know, so that when you reach back out to them after you become licensed, they're not going to say, well, how come only now that Chris is a real estate agent, he wants to talk to me? I haven't talked to him in 4 or 5 years. All of a sudden, he's a realtor, he wants to talk to me. They're going to say, oh, Chris is back in touch with me, or Chris reached out to me recently. What a great guy. And oh, gee, now he's in real estate, right? Number 5, look like a realtor, act like a realtor, and feel like a realtor. When I started in real estate, I literally owned a t-shirt and jeans and skate shoes. I had to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe. Now, you might not be able to afford a new car, so that when you show up at a listing appointment, you look like a rock star. I know I was embarrassed of my car. I used to park around the corner when I would go to a listing appointment that was a high-end listing appointment. Now, you might not be able to change the car that you drive, but you can very easily change the clothes that you wear. You also need to feel like a real estate agent. If you need to, and I did when I started, I needed to chant affirmations out loud every single morning until I actually started to believe it. I am a great salesperson. I am a great salesperson. I am a great salesperson. I didn't believe that I was a great salesperson when I first got started, and I was actually sometimes embarrassed to tell people that I was in real estate, because if they had to talk to me 6 months down the road, they might ask me how it's going in real estate, and if I failed, I'd have to tell them the honest, hard truth. Now, act like a realtor. Turn on your spidey sense. You never know where that next deal is going to come from. You might be out in public, at the grocery store, at the gas station, at the dry cleaner, anywhere. And when you hear somebody say something about real estate, your ears should perk up and you should be ready and available to have that conversation or to. My final word of advice for the day is, when you get to the presentation table and you've done a great job, don't forget to ask for the business. I know this seems simple, but a lot of real estate agents miss this step. That was the missing component for me. I was putting in long days, doing a lot of the right things during those first 6 months. I did a lot of prospecting, obviously, to fill my sales funnel to do 15 deals the following 3 months, but I was missing the boat. I wasn't asking for the sale. You might be afraid of a rejection. You might be afraid of what they're going to say, but guess what? Ask and you shall receive. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, so simply ask. You might apply the advice and you might be looking to do more in your real estate business. And if that's the case, check out some of the other videos on my channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and push the bell so you get notified every time I go live. And thanks for being here today, and I'll see you on the next video.